Greetings and salutations.
Hey guys, I'm Sam, and this is the After the Bars podcast. How are you guys doing tonight? I am doing fantabulous. I am so excited for tonight. I can't even stand myself right now. I've been waiting for this for a while. I'm hoping that Attorney Jackson says some things. Do you know what I mean? And so like, we're just going to have to hope and pray he takes questions and answers at the end of the podcast, and someone answers the right, someone asks him the right questions, the questions that we all want answers to. So yeah, I am super looking forward to that. Yeah, just wow. I'm pretty excited about it. Hopefully everyone's doing okay today. I started at about 15 minutes early. It's supposed to start at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock my time. I'm in Mountain Time. So hopefully it starts on time. If not, there's plenty of things that we can do, talk about. We can watch some body cam videos. We can watch some court videos. There's just tons of stuff we can do. I'm sorry. I know I'm always eating at the beginning of the show. It's because I always remember, grab a snack just right before the show, because I don't want to have to get up and leave. So I did some moving around today. I leveled out my monitor in the back for everyone, but specifically for Ben. It was a little low. I need to, there's a screw back there I need to tighten because it slowly will start to drop. So hopefully that looks better. I changed some lighting. That way I'm just a little more lit up. I seemed a little dim earlier. But man, I am so glad that you guys, my audience or community, told me about this interview tonight, because I would have missed it. I surely would have, because I was doing some other things here around the house today. And, I'm always looking for stuff, new stories, new things to talk about. I did check out the Crystal Rogers case today. It seems intense. I have 5 videos that I'm going to watch tonight after we do this. So I'm really looking forward to that. So thank you guys. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Hey, Lynn, thank you so much for the emails. I seen them and I read them. I have not responded yet. I am at the top of the emails. Where is everybody? I'm scared. If there was no one here, I'd be scared too, John. I'd be like, damn, what'd I do now? I had to have said something. I would totally go replay my last 3 lives just to make sure that I didn't do anything crazy. You know what I mean? To send people away if there was no one here. But yeah, I'm super stoked. Hey, Kathleen Menzies, good to see you. It's been a while. Caddy Connie and Loudmouth Linda, good to see you. Lynn Arundel, good to see you. Meyer this keeper, so good to see you. Good, John, just making sure everyone's here. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for being a moderator. Thank you to all of my moderators. There is James Collins Cares. James, I feel like I haven't talked to you or seen you in 3 weeks. Why is that? I have a package for you too. I know I said that last time. It just was a little heavy, but I got it. Don't don't trip, potato chip. I got it. I always say hi to you, my other's keeper. Hi, Kim. I always do. Dun, 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 dun. Hey, Shell Dub in the house. I can't believe I still have this nail. This is like kid nail polish, and it will not come off. Like, I'm gonna take that nail polish away from her, away from my daughter, because it is like there, man. I know I can go get nail polish remover, but I really don't need it. Hey, UK Cheese Farmers side piece. Oh, UK Cheese Farmers side piece. Oh, awesome. New sub, man. Thank you so much for subscribing. Hopefully it will be worth your subscription. I totally am hyper focused on the chat and on the as much as I can. I do get sidetracked, but from the subscribers and the community, we've built like a safe, fun community, and hopefully everyone welcomed you with open arms. Everyone usually does, but I'm like I'm needing to get some more moderators. That way, there's more mods there to communicate with the chat when I get distracted with what we're watching or a thought. Yeah, just as long as there's no homophobia or no racism in the chat, it's all good. We can all have different religions, different viewpoints, different everything. I'm an ex systems engineer from Microsoft who lost his wife in a car accident by a drunk driver. Started drinking, ended up using drugs, selling drugs, went to federal prison. And that's why I have a lot of things to say about the federal system, these cases, the justice system. And now I've been clean for a long time, and I just get crazier and crazier by the day. So yeah, thank you for the subscription. Thank you to all the new subscribers. I've gotten quite a few of these past few days. I'm like blown away. I tweaked the format just a little bit, and everything seems to be working out so far. So yeah, guys, that's going to be the show. Please hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. All of that engagement helps the algorithm, and I will be right back. And
Real Fabio.
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, I almost had the name.
So he's like, yeah, that dude, he didn't testify against somebody on a murder trial. All right. Dang, I was going to wear my Inside True Crime shirt today, and I totally spaced it. I got it from my storefront. I had it hanging with my other clothes that I have in the storefront. So, hey, I would like for everyone if we could just say a quick prayer for the families who lost loved ones in Texas. If we can get as many threes as possible up there, and just I just didn't know until today. So thank you to Caddy Connie and Loudmouth Linda for letting me know that was going on. Even my wife knew, and I was just like, well, why didn't you tell me? You know what she said? She's like, well, you were busy. I was like, oh, well, yeah, I guess I was. But I need to know these things like right away. But you know, it's my fault. It's my fault. I just was distracted with so many other news stories. I just can't believe I missed that. It's just so heavy. But those families all need, hopefully they can just receive some kind of understanding of the reasons why these things happen. And I know it's going to be super hard for them. I couldn't imagine losing my 6-year-old to something like that. I would want you can't, there's no one to get revenge against. Hopefully I would act with grace, towards, God and the living people in my family. I don't know. I just couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine losing any of my daughters, but especially the youngest. She's pretty special. So yeah. So I'm just watching, waiting for it to start. It says waiting. 5:56. I don't know if he's usually late or early or on time. I don't know. If he's anything like me, he's usually late. So I thought I was going to be late today. I did. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be late. But here I is. Oh my God, 43. That is so crazy. And I know when it was 24 and 24, they were missing 24 and had found 24. And it was only 10 young girls from whatever that situation was. It's just so tragic. Corinne asking if this Jackson guy is the country singer. No, absolutely not. It is the lawyer for Karen Reed from the Carrie Reed trial. I really need to get a hold of Zoe to do that Maddie Soto. She's probably already done it. She can get a hold of me too. I think she did, and I emailed her back. Yeah, because we are going to start covering that more closely here in the next week. They're still looking for 23 kids. I just don't understand. I just don't understand how they can, because adults knew where they were. I'm guessing there was like a camping situation or an event or something, or like a swimming party or something. It had to have been something. And was it a river that flooded? I still don't understand. Kids were at a camp. Okay. Thank you, Kathleen. I really appreciate that. Okay. Thank you, James Collins. I appreciate it. Like, okay. Yeah. Okay. So it gets flooded. Well, I mean, you can guess where those young little girls ended up. Do you know what I mean? I don't understand why it's taking so long. It's not like they could have got washed out to sea. I don't know. I just know with our technology and like all the search and rescue personnel we have, that should have been just like bam. It's not like they have to dig through rubble or anything like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hard on them. I mean, here at the After the Bars, we love first responders. We pray for first responders. We don't, when bad things happen to first responders, we are left speechless. It started from a horrific rainstorm, 19 inches in a short time. Yeah, that's what I heard. We got a really bad rainstorm here today, and I'm wondering if that was part of that system, if it ended up here. Oh, here we go, guys. We'll talk about that more later.
Hey, yo,
I can get a 5x5 too.
I can't PD and I can't find my Willie. I'm just here for a little attention.
Why that sounds so crazy?
I got severe hypertension. So why you trying to get to know it?
Oh, it's because I have it on twice. That's crazy. Hold on, guys. Hold on, guys. I'm gonna get that back up, and that was crazy.
Iggy better. Canton Horse, Bella's Mama's Marietta. I don't know. I'll give it a go. ATS Big
You're
Show,
my daddy,
right?
Ben
No,
Bakey.
I don't need a new man
Ben
with a
Bakey,
double
JT.
D-rack. Never mind, Higgy. Your game is whack. You're the whacker to
I
my
am
weed. Your
blue.
game is whack. I'm not trying to hear that, see? I'm not one of the girls trying to get locked down. Prince Higgy, baby, Jameson Crown. I get down with the Hilly low comp ticket. 16 whiskeys
There we
is
go.
how I kick it. And you get excited for a midnight snack. I already told you. Your game
This
is
must be
whack.
TurtleBoy
You're the
theme
whacker to
song.
my weed. Your game
Hey,
is
look at
whack.
that guy.
I'm
He's
not
going to
trying
prison
hear
for a
that, see?
really
Your
long
game is
time
whack. You're the
someday.
whacker to my weed. Your game is whack. I'm not trying to hear that. I like sleeping alone. This won't go all night. A little needy and strange. It's true love at first sight. I'm the real deal. I do what I gotta do from the rip. My whole heart's for you. Your whole heart is not for me. Not a half, not a quarter, not a claw, not a read. You know what's the problem? You're trouble in your heart. I'm big, thick neck daddy Higgy. He's not. I got a question, not to be rude. Are you queer? Cause you keep calling me dude. Are you glad that you have walked me out? No self-doubt and you didn't cop out. No last words, I'm smarter abide. Don't diss the caterpillar and sweat the butterfly. All of them girls must have got you gas. And when they see a good
Oh,
thing,
this
they
is gonna
don't
be so
triple
good.
bypass. Well, for this town, that's right on track. Cause for me, your game's too whack. You're the whacker to my weed. Your game is whack. I'm not trying to hear that, see? Game is whack. You're the whacker to my weed. Your game is whack. I'm not trying to hear that. What am I? Another pretty face getting you a drink from my military base. All I gotta know is why did you use me? You talking? Psh, excuse me. We can't have nothing. You wear depends. Well, if we ain't getting married, then we can't be friends. Well, then I guess it's nothing. Well, hey, I think you're puffing. Well, pass that weed. I won't weed whack nothing. You better catch a flashback. Remember, you ain't tapping it. You ain't my style, and I'm not having it. All I remember from that late night kiss is I'm more the mister.
You're kidding, right?
Well, look, I treat you good. Treat yourself better. And I always
I'm
come
almost
along.
60.
Right, I greet you every day with a martini at the door. You won't last a year, you're overgrown bed sore. Well, I'm known in this town, and now that's a piss. I got no one to blame but myself and Melissa. You didn't answer me, Karen. Am I a good kisser? Don't remember, had a lot of Hennessy. A lot of girls out there that won't say no. The ones you take to your crib with Berkey. Boom.
Welcome to the Weekend Live Show.
508 is where I'm from.
We run down the biggest stories of the week with you every Saturday night. Let us know in the comments right now where you reppin'.
Apache Junction, Taunton, Worcester, Long Island, Manchard, South Florida, Webster, Malden, Framingham, Tucson, Billerica, Salem, Gloucester, Moosop, Connecticut, Charleston, South Carolina, Roslindale, Moosop, Connecticut, London, Glendale, Arizona, Lynn, Naperville, Quincy.
Hey, you funny ass guy, man.
Have you ever heard of TurtleBoy? Yeah? Are you a fan?
508 is where I'm from.
Hey, what's up?
508 is where I'm from.
How was that?
When
You
it's
freaking
like this,
idiot.
and it's like,
Stop telling people that I'm mentally deranged and stupid.
Call me Aiden. I'm no doctor, but
Get out of my store, please. You are.
I get what you're saying. He's going to have thousands and thousands of people there. And I think we're all I have a history of doing justice for John. But I totally get what you're saying. This situation's a little bit different. Head Scratchers, I appreciate it. Head Scratcher says, bro, you're not supposed to live watch another channel. I totally get it. This is the first time I've ever done it, but I feel like we're all on the same team here, and I will turn off, I can share. I'll turn off the, well, it already is off, the monetization. And I think that'll be just fine. As long as I don't get monetized from it, we're not going to have more than, 50 people. I think at the most, he's going to have about probably 10,000 people on his. So, but I do understand and I appreciate the concern. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You're
not a journalist, you're nobody. You're not turtle hair. Don't make such fun of the criminal justice system.
NFL on the house, blog out.
Let's get this party started.
will not be intimidated. I will not be silenced, and we will continue on our journey for justice for John O'Keefe and for Karen.
Wait, hold on. What's going on in the chat right now? What did Copy Barbara say? I see she says she doesn't care what she said. Well, I mean, I trust you guys. Copy that. You're fine. Copy Barbara James, I don't care. Yeah, we really don't care that you don't care either. Anyways, I'm gonna go back. I trust the mods. Just
Karen Reed has supporters who've shown up in large numbers.
Hard body, and not scaring nobody. You make me resort to wild. You must be by the diamond side. Want it to be this way, but y'all won't need to try this. So it's no way around it. You the loudest one is going quiet.
This is the first time I think I've ever seen this. An outpouring of support for someone accused of murdering a Boston police officer. Unbelievable situation. Never seen anything like it.
You can't stop me, so who gon' stop me?
Boom. What's up, turtle people? How's everyone out there doing tonight? Good? Good.
I'm gonna send him an
Excellent.
email
Welcome
tomorrow
to the live
too.
show, ladies and gentlemen. Holy cow, there's 21,589 people here already. That's pretty cool. And that was just the intro. So what are we gonna get to tonight? 30,000? Is somebody coming on tonight? I don't even know.
That's what I'm saying.
Anyway, welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen.
I really don't think he's
If
gonna
you're
get,
new
I
here,
totally get
my
it.
name's Aiden
But he'll
Carney.
scratch
I'm
his
the host of
saying,
this
if
here
this was
program.
anything
I go
different
by a
from this,
variety of
I'd never,
nicknames. You
ever
can call
do a
me
watch
Turtle
party.
Boy, Uncle Turtle Boy. I prefer Dr. Turtle Boy because if Judd Welcher's a doctor, then so am I. You can call me Daddy if you like. It could be weird for some people, but playful and exciting for others. You can call me Journalism
really
Jesus.
low.
You can call me A. Timothy Carney. That's my true crime name. I don't care what you call me. Just be here every Tuesday and Saturday night at 9 p.m. sharp. And make sure you smash that subscribe button, people. Okay. And hit the notification bell in case we do an impromptu live, whatever. Anyway, without further ado, so tonight we got a special guest. You might have heard. His name's Alan Jackson. He was the co-counsel for the Karen Reed defense team. And we're honored to have him on the program tonight. If you guys want to have your messages read out loud to the class tonight, I'm going to read them after the interview, after we're done with him. Because I do have some stuff to say after the interview too, because I got to talk about my trip to Cape Cod yesterday. Higgins yelled at me yesterday. I swear to God, Higgins swore at me. It was my first time ever seeing Higgins in person. And the only thing he said to me was, "Get the fuck out of here." That's all. And he chased me down the street. I was a passenger in a car and he yelled at me. Well, I'll tell you the whole story yesterday. It's crazy. So we'll talk about that. If you guys want to have your messages read after the show, click at the link at the top for Turtle Chat. You can pay whatever you want, say whatever you want. I'll read it out loud to the class. Just keep it somewhat brief, no centigraphs, please. Or you can cash at me at $ Uncle Turtle Boy, and we can do it that way. So Yeah. So let's just get this party started. So we have here, we got Alan Jackson backstage. We're gonna bring him up now. There we go. Let's do it. Hello, Mr. Jackson. How are you?
What's up, Slick?
That's what I should call you. I feel like. Thank you for coming to my program.
Long time no talk to. I don't even know what to call you. You know what? That crowd behind you. I got to tell you, that crowd behind you. I've got a new name.
Yeah. What's that?
It sticks. We got Crash Daddies. We've got Data Daddies. You're the crowd daddy.
The crowd daddy. I like it.
You are the crowd daddy. That crowd behind you is because of you, in no small part, because of you. So thank you for everything you've done for the Free Care and Read.
Hey, Debbie Charbonneau. That question
I was honestly
Carbonell.
That
Like
question
is definitely going to be
proudest
asked.
life accomplishments. It started one day on April 17th, 2023, when I was sent this tip from a guy by the name of Brian Johnson, a former Duxbury cop who trained John on the job in Duxbury. And as a former LEO guy, he said, something's not right about this.
That's how it started.
Yeah, that's how it started.
Could literally never heard of Karen Reed before that.
He'd never heard of Karen. Like we both heard about it when when John was killed. The police officer gets killed around it. It's kind of big news.
Sure.
But then, like, honestly, like I've said this before, like when a cop gets killed, I usually have an interest in the story because it's always the same story. It's like some guy with 125 priors who never should have been released in the first place. Sure. And there was a ticking time bomb waiting to happen. That's how Michael Chestnut died. Many other police officers around here. It's always the same story. So when I saw John O'Keefe was killed by his ex-girlfriend, I'm like, okay, what do we have here? Is it like, do we have a crazy ex? Does she have priors?
People
watching
her
up.
This show right
it was
now.
Not. She was just honestly a boring, financial analyst from Fidelity, and it just seemed like this horrible accident. And I had no take on it because I'm like, what am I going to say? It's horrible for her. It's horrible for him. It's horrible for everyone. I'm like, what? It's just a depressing story. I don't even want to write about this. And I forgot about it. And then Brian Johnson sends me this, like, and I take him more seriously because he's former LEO, and he's less likely to take the position that the cops are the bad guys, right? And that's what this is. Like, there's
everybody else does too. Yeah,
right. And so, like,
tough pill to swallow.
Right, exactly. I mean, this was the most obvious frame job ever, and yet it was still an obstacle, simply because we are predisposed to believe defendants are guilty, I think, and that cops can't, like, the people that we trust to look over us and enforce the law wouldn't possibly betray us like that. And that's what it is. It's a betrayal, isn't it?
Right. No, it's absolutely true. It's funny. You said a bunch in that opening, which is, Karen seemed like just a boring woman who's, getting along in her life and gets into this terrible, tragic accident, and her boyfriend ends up dying, etc. Except none of it is true. None of it. Not one goddamn word of it is true. Not one. And that's when the other side sort of shifts. That's when the narrative starts to actually take place, when we begin to build a defense. And it's not just a defense. We begin to build a truth about what the public actually thinks happened versus what truly happened. And it took 3.5 years to get that truth out. The justice system is it's like turning an aircraft carrier. Just doesn't happen overnight, right? You just can't step on the rudder and turn an aircraft carrier. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of work by a lot of people. And you were among those folks that helped turn this aircraft carrier around. The narrative that was so easy to swallow at the beginning became a jagged pill for a lot of folks. A lot of folks who said, wait a minute, I remember when my relatives, my father, my brother, my sister might have ended up in Massachusetts State Police custody, and it never sat right with me. I mean, we have myriad communications with folks from around the country, specifically around Massachusetts, saying this, something never seemed right about XYZ, whatever fill in the blank, whatever that might be. To your point, like, you've been arrested, you've done a little time based on some complete chicken shit that never should have happened in the first place. So, there's a lot of folks with stories exactly like yours that have reached out to us from the very beginning, from day one, to say, what happened here? Why are we subjugated like this? Why do we have to suffer at under the jackboot of the Massachusetts State Police when they seem to be able to get away with anything and everything they want to? And the Karen Reed movement, the Free Karen Reed movement, was so much bigger than this 110-pound girl who got wrongfully accused. It is a bigger movement than that. I'm very proud to have been a part of it. I'm very honored to have been a part of it. I'm very honored to have led the defense team that sort of unveiled or pulled back the curtain to a larger problem. And my hope is, by the time that this thing is said and done, and we ain't done yet, by the way. We
really? What do you mean by that?
Well, some folks have said we ain't got no quit. There's a lot yet to be done to fix the problems that sort of
there you go, buddy.
So
is that something you're sticking around for? Are you still like you're still technically, you haven't I don't know what the word is. You're still Karen's attorney.
I'll always be Karen's attorney from this day until the next. I'm always going to be Karen's attorney. I'm not going anywhere. So if there is when there is a next chapter to this, you can bet I'll be involved. Is
that something you can detail more? I know we talked about this before, and there's some stuff you're obviously not going to be able to touch.
Yeah,
and that's one of those things.
Only mean one
that's
thing,
one of those
guys.
things that I'd rather allow the system to. Look, I was very circumspect about the times that I spoke.
Look, guys, that can only mean one thing. And it's everything that what I've been talking about. Sorry to stop. I'll start play it again. That can only mean one thing, is that he's working with the federal investigators to put this timeline together of what truly happened. Because everyone knows what happens. And you guys seen that video that I played today of that video that they posted on Instagram of them going into that basement. I'm sure things were tested. I'm sure, flooring was lifted up. That is amazing news. And for the fact that he says I just can't say much more about it. It's got to be it. It's got to be it. Oh man, I'm doing exposés on everything now. Hank Brennan for being a mob lawyer. Of course they couldn't find another special prosecutor anywhere in the country. They had to go get a sleazy mafia lawyer to prosecute little old Karen Reed. Oh my God. Okay, sorry guys. I'm gonna get back to it.
Publicly, it was very, very, very curated in terms of the statements that I made on the courthouse steps. It was very curated in terms of the statements that I made or Karen made in any interviews. Those were nothing was by chance, and nothing was happenstance. Nothing was sort of impulsive.
Because she always had a smile.
So when Karen Reed on May 3rd, the first time I ever attended a hearing, it was May 24th. Blurted out suddenly that we know who did it, Steve. That came out of nowhere. She just started talking. Was that planned, or did she do that? Did she go rogue?
So
go rogue.
Karen has never gone rogue in her life. So I'll revert back to the statement that I just made.
Really
everything that Karen has done, everything we've done as a defense team has been highly curated for a reason. There's a reason why we've done we've made every single move we've made. Our position was at the very beginning when Karen and I first started talking was we're going to allow the government to play checkers and we're going to play chess. So stand by. Nothing that Karen has ever said, or use the word blurted out. It sounded like she blurted it out, but the reality is nothing she's ever said has been a blurt or a mistake or impulsive.
Oh man,
we've known what our theme and our theory and our methodology of getting the truth out was going to be from the jump, from the moment Karen and I started communicating.
So let's talk about the evolution of that. So David Yannetti is her attorney from February of 2022 alone until late September of 2022.
Till August.
August. Okay. And
y'all were introduced to me in September, September 25th, but I was Karen and I had begun our discussions in August.
Okay. And like me, the hook that got you was the arm picture. That was the one that stood out like, whoa,
100%.
whoa,
100%.
that's not a car didn't do that.
Yeah,
okay?
it's been widely reported, and that's absolutely 100% true. As soon as I got the email and she said, let me attach a photograph. This is what the Commonwealth is saying. I did with a taillight. I immediately said, I'm in.
So she sends you that, and you must get pitched with, potential clients all the time. And I'm sure everybody who contacts you is being framed. Everybody is the victim of corruption. Everybody's innocent, or not everybody, but a good amount. How do you weed out the yahoos and decide that Karen Reed's legitimate and you're going to take this? And is that, am I right that you obviously don't take every case that comes in your inbox?
I don't. I'm lucky. I'm fortunate. Our firm is fortunate. We do get a lot of calls, and there's a lot of calls that we want to take, but we can't. There's reasons why we can't. There may be financial reasons. There may be geographical reasons. I can't take a case in Alaska at this time because I'm trying another case at this time. Whatever. We do get a lot of calls. The thing that changed everything for me. And Liza, by the way, Liza has an office literally physically right next door to mine. Like we share a common wall. And I called her in with our very, very elegant intercom system. And it sounded a little bit like this: Liza, get your ass in here. Oh my God. I just screamed across through the wall, and she walked in, and I told her about this email and this conversation that we were about to have. And it was probably about, I may be wrong on the time. Karen would probably be able to fix it. She has a better memory than I do, but it was about a 15-minute conversation. And I said, every hair that I have on the back of my neck stood straight up. And I was like, this is not right. This is not, everything that I'm seeing suggests something is desperately wrong with this prosecution. Mm-hmm. And look, I was only brought on as a very humbly, behind David, as a consultant. I wasn't brought on as lead counsel, and that's my normal role. When I take a case, I usually walk in with that imprimatur as lead counsel, and I control the entire case. That's just how I'm built, and I've earned that over decades of trying cases. But in this case, I was like, okay, I'll take a backroom role. And see what happens. Mm-hmm. As we began talking and we began discussing the case of geofence data and really technical cell phone data, which I was very good at the time, I started realizing there's a broader issue here. This isn't going to be a technical defense. This is going to be a full-throated, full-blown defense of an innocent woman. She did not do this. And if you want to call it, she was framed versus, which is what we really, postulated in the first trial, versus the data shows that there was no collision, which is what we postulated in the second trial. And you saw that. I mean, the beauty of sort of young law students watching this is they saw the transition between defenses. Both defenses were valid. By the way, I mean, I'm very proud of the fact that we acquitted her twice.
You did.
I said
24 nothing.
Exactly.
By the way, we've heard from 6 of I've told by sources all 6 alternates also said not guilty.
Correct.
So no matter who you picked,
we've heard from them too. Yeah, exactly. No matter who you picked, it didn't matter. There was no fix. There was no in. Whatever. Everybody that would have been on the.
Hey guys, I put a link to the description to TurtleBoy's channel. Please go over there and give him a subscribe and a like and all the things for the pleasure of watching this live on After the Bars today. I'm gonna send him an email. I'm not gonna monetize the video or anything like that, and we should be okay. He's got 30,000 people. I'm sure it's fine, but just to be on the up and up, that's the way we're gonna do it. It's not letting me save the changes. There we go. All right.
Jury would have acquitted her 100%.
Now let me ask you something. Was your change in strategy this time around affected at all by my interview with Ronnie? Because it seemed, not to toot my own horn here, but it seems like a lot of the things, like Ronnie it was painful listening to some of the things he said, right? But I had to ask him, and I had to like maintain my composure asking, even if he was driving me nuts. But I thought it was really important that the defense heard this. Did you watch that interview, and did it shape how you changed your strategy in the second trial?
I did watch the interview. We all watched it. That was a sort of a must read, as you will, as you think about it. There wasn't one specific thing that Ronnie said that changed our mind. It was a sort of a panoply of, or a myriad information that was coming to us. Your interview was among the chief among them.
The car insurance question, you asked that one.
Absolutely. 100%. That came directly from your interview with Ronnie. Ronnie said, as you remember, obviously you asked the question, well, we thought that maybe her insurance company had some interest in hiring experts and doing such and such and so and so. And we that
kind of makes sense. That kind of makes sense that a juror might reach that conclusion.
Look, they're not stupid. I mean, these are intelligent folks. And part of the issue that we had was perpetrating what we always considered, and what I always said from the beginning, is perpetrating a fraud on the jury. We are perpetrating a fraud on the jury. We are supposed to be in a system of truth. That's it. Full stop. That's the alpha and omega of a trial. Give me the truth. That's all I care about. Give me the truth, and I'll take my lumps, whatever that may be.
That's right.
But the Commonwealth has to take their lumps too. And Judge Cannoni very specifically was not going to allow us to tell the truth to the jury. The fact that she hid the feds from the jury, not once, 2 times, even after being slapped down by jurors, not slapped down by us. I mean, we were always respectful to her. The jurors said, once we found out that these were feds, why didn't you tell us that? That makes all the world a difference.
Yeah, it did.
We thought they might be insurance folks.
And what was her argument? Because it would have biased the jury, but doesn't all evidence bias a jury? Isn't that the point of evidence?
No, her argument was more along the lines of, you have my ruling.
But here's the deal. If they would have thought that it was insurance people, then whichever way the insurance company ruled, they would have thought that they were biased because they wouldn't have wanted to pay out the money. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's even a worse bias, because the insurance company are working for themselves, trying not to have the evidence point out that, that Karen was responsible. Well, I mean, I guess in this case, I guess that's really what they would want. But I would think an insurance company is way more biased than federal investigators that used a third-party company to gather that evidence and come up with a theory. All right. Sorry, guys.
Okay. Because I said so.
Because I said
so. Yeah. Now, do you think, you've been doing this a long time, do you think she's one of the small percentage of judges who would not allow that to be mentioned? Or do you think if you had any other judge, do you think that judge would have done the same thing she did? Or do you think they would have allowed FBI to be mentioned?
My experience is that I think every other judge I've ever been in front of in my life, every other judge, and there are those probably number not in the hundreds, but in the thousands. Every other judge would allow that in.
Really? Every other judge? Wow.
Every other judge would allow that in. Every one of us on the defense team, in the first trial and the second, were gobsmacked that she would not allow in even a modicum of information. We can't go into what the investigation consists of. We didn't want to know who the investigators were. We didn't care if it was the DOJ or the FBI, whatever. Just to be able to say the federal government opened an investigation, and this is what they hired ARCA, and ARCA worked for and was commissioned by the federal government, and this is what they found. Period. That does not in any way, shape, form, or fashion prejudice the Commonwealth. It never would have, but the Commonwealth was so adamant that if that was known, it would be it would allow such inherent credibility to be gleaned about Arca. She wouldn't allow it happen. She was never going to allow it to happen.
Do you feel like she was doing this because she's bad at her job, or do you think she just doesn't like you and Karen Reed? Because that was the vibe I got. I don't think she likes you. I don't think you're getting the Christmas
all of
card.
the above.
Okay,
and more.
Okay, all of the above.
Yeah, no, look, there was no question that from the beginning. I walked in. I didn't pick a bone with her. I mean, you saw Aiden from the moment I walked into trial on September 25th, 2022. I was respectful. I was cordial. I was as dignified as an officer of the court could be. I asked for pro hoc vice. I was elegant in my arguments to her. Always respectful of the bench. Always respectful of the robe. That's how I'm built. That is how I'm built. She could not stand me from moment one. That's not how we do this in Massachusetts.
I couldn't tell.
There was a moment. You remember the moment, Aiden, which got a lot of interest on the internet, when Liza, who literally walks around with a halo over her head, like she is angelic. She is the most respectful person on the planet. All she does is she analyzes the law. She analyzes the facts. She puts those two things together, and she provides motions and she provides arguments. She has no dog in any fight. She doesn't have the same sort of piss and vinegar that I have, which good for her. That's exactly the place that she finds her comfort zone in the practice of law. And when Judge Cannoni said, "We stand up in Massachusetts,"
Sadie Hughes, good to see you.
Oh my! I was like,
when was that? When was that?
Like, look, I'll get back to that. Sorry to stop it, but I do have to give commentary and to make this a little bit more, even though we're not monetizing this video. Look, I think Bev is probably friends with the chief, probably friends with Brian Higgins' mom. She was friends with someone else's, her mom and someone else's mom worked in the same cafeteria for 25 years. And so she grew up with that. I think it was Brennan's or somebody's. I did a video on it, but it's been so long now. Like, look, no, she's talking to people from the other side, and they're saying, like, look, do everything you can legally to help our cause along. That cause meaning framing Karen Reed. It's obvious. It was painfully obvious. It wasn't because Jackson's from California, or she doesn't like Aiden Kearney, or you know what I mean. It was much more. It was all of the above, just like Alan Jackson just said. It's all of the above.
It was at the very beginning. Liza in California, by the way.
Oh, okay.
To our defense, we don't stand up when we address judges in California. It's not a disrespect thing.
I hope you guys can hear me on that.
It's an efficiency thing. Every time, standing up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, it just doesn't make efficient sense. And so unless you're giving a closing argument to a jury, etc., you don't necessarily have to stand up at all.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, judges they don't allow, Mr. Jackson, you can remain seated. Let's just get these arguments done. Okay. So that's what Liza's used to. That's where she was born and bred here in California.
I wasn't there for that, but I was there for the chalks. She hated the chalks.
Oh yeah.
And there was one day.
Why do you think she hated the chalks?
Because she doesn't like attention. She doesn't like attention. She doesn't like media. She resented you because you were effective at getting the attention of the media. She hated that, right? And she also resented you, I think, because who the fuck are you? Like, she's from Norfolk County. Like, this is her, she's been here her whole life working. Who the fuck are you? You're not going to come in here. She had to remind you that this was her. You might have the flair and you might live in a nicer house than her and all the shit, but God damn it, this is her goddamn courtroom. And she's going to remind you of it whenever she can and just slap you down as much as she can. I think she took it out in your client because of that. And I think she took it out on David Yannetti, who I don't think she resented before you got involved.
I think you're right. I think she had a lot of respect for David, and David earned that respect. He should have the respect. He's a great lawyer. But I think the fact that I came in and she thought this was her opportunity to say, if I had a nickel for every time she said, that's not how we do it in Massachusetts, I mean, at the end of the day, I really don't give a shit how you do it in Massachusetts. I don't.
That's right.
I care about whether or not the Constitution.
Because if they're doing it the way that they were doing it, why would he give a shit of how they do it in Massachusetts? They didn't show him anything to respect, not one iota.
Which, unless I'm mistaken, yeah, I know I read this somewhere. The Constitution governs all states, including the Commonwealth. Yeah. So I don't really give a shit if you don't do it this way in Massachusetts. The jury needs to see the face of the witness. Like that was one of the big whoppers, right?
So let's talk about that. I think that backfired on you. Okay. Like I agree with you that they should have been.
I disagree. I don't think so. I don't think so.
I think being in that courtroom and having John's family look at that jury is the reason that there was a mistrial in the first trial. Like that setup of them looking directly at the jury and Peggy crying and making faces is like they went into that like, we got to throw this woman a bone. We got to convict her or something. And I think that's why he had a mistrial is the setup. Obviously you could I concede seeing the faces of the witnesses, very, very important. But like, she kind of like, you guys were like, you know, we got to fix this situation in here. And she's like, fuck it. Why don't we just go to this other room then?
Yeah, I don't disagree that she thought that was an advantage for her. I don't, Aiden. I think that she thought, okay, you broke it, you bought it, right? We're going to put you in a tiny little courtroom. I don't know that I agree. And look, it's all hyperbole at this point, right? I don't know that I agree necessarily that the jury in the first trial hung because, at least on the subordinate counts on count 2, because they were facing the O'Keefes. Look, the second jury was facing the O'Keefes as well. And there were just as many tears and there was just as many eye rolls and just as many, all the same shenanigans were happening.
Well, Paul had to move his seat.
Paul had to move his seat for another reason.
I'm aware of that. And
how'd you become aware of that?
Sources out. I never reveal sources. I have sources, and I heard it's a couple, 1 or 2 jurors, maybe one. By the way,
I want to be clear because you and I are being coy. The source wasn't me.
It was not you. Well, there was a gag order on you. You couldn't say anything. If you
and I, by the way, I abided by that gag order.
You did
to the letter. Yeah.
And I don't know how you guys did it coming out of the courtroom.
It ain't easy.
Yeah, it can't be easy.
Oh my God, that must have been hard. So let me ask you. So first question, we talked about addressing this earlier on.
And we're going to.
There's a lot of talk on the internet right now. And you and I spoke about this of like the defense team should distance themselves from TurtleBoy, right? That like, that's they're playing it smart by not coming on his show. And then you called me and you were like, I want to come on. And why is that?
Because I didn't believe that bullshit. That we were, I know it's not true that we were trying to distance ourselves from TurtleBoy, from Aiden Kearney, from the magnificence of what you did, the crowd daddy, right? You created a lot of this, you generated a lot of this verve, and we appreciated it. We're deeply, deeply, deeply grateful. I talk to Karen every day. Every day I talk to her. I don't think that there's been a day since the verdict that I haven't spoken to her and or her family. And every single day she tells me how grateful she is to your viewers, to the folks that populated the streets and the sidewalks and wore pink and gave this beautiful "I love you" sign that has resonated through not just the Commonwealth's community, but through the nation and through around the globe. I mean, we've gotten, I'm sure you have too, we've gotten accolades and love and support from Australia and Ireland and China, all across the globe. That's in no small part because of folks like you. There's a element of a come down. She has to have that, right? She has to. There was no distancing of ourselves from you specifically, but she needed to come down, and she almost crashed a little bit. Have you ever had a situation where you've had an adrenaline, you're just pumped with adrenaline, and the after effect of the adrenaline is I just gotta come down. Now think about that. Normally the adrenaline is, you're about to have an argument with someone that you love or care about. You're in a bar and someone looks at you funny or what, and the adrenaline goes through the roof, and then you've got this come down. Or it's an incredibly exciting event, and you have this come down. Now multiply it. Every single day of your life, every day, relentlessly, every day, with Tully and Buchanan and Proctor and Michael Morrissey and Lally and Brent. Every single day, you're dealing with people who believe they're being paid to destroy you. Now, expand that to 3.5 years. 3.5 years every day, 365 days a year for 3.5 years, over 1,000 days of that. And then it's like, bam, it's just done. She won. It's over. It's over, Aiden. So the idea of Karen running around and doing every podcast or every interview, we were asked by everyone. I mean, everyone, you name it, we were asked, CNN and Fox News and Good Morning America and the Today Show, everybody asked.
After the bars.
She just needed a minute. And I get it. I get it from her. I get it. My heart goes out to her. I don't know. I mean, I was in sort of the fire with her, but not really, because
but like even us covering it, like I didn't even want to cover it anymore after like the first 2 days after the verdict. I mean, I'm not comparing myself to her at all. Like she deserves 10 years away from all the bull, but and then more stories would come out and I'd be like, oh, I got to cover this because I'm justice for John and I want to, and all the things. But I was like, I was feeling exhausted from even like trying to wrap my mind around all the deceit and the deception and the way that I know that Karen's feeling and everyone else, her family, and then of course the O'Keefe family, how they're feeling, and and I go back and forth. I'm frustrated with Peggy O'Keefe because she just can't see it because of the hate. But then then I understand that's what she's being fed and what she's being told. It's just a lot. It's just a lot.
Nobody can really understand what it's like. You know what it's like.
Yes.
To be accused. You know what it's like to be falsely accused, Aiden. Very few people do. So
I also
quiet time.
And I also know what it's like. Like when I first got out of jail, I was actually in a horrible place. Like I was happier in jail the last couple of days. I thought it would be the happiest time ever, but it was just so overwhelming when I got out, and there was so much to catch up on.
Right.
And I'm like, holy shit. I was like shell shocked. I was like fucked up from it,
Right.
And I've had some conversations with Karen, and it seems like she's going through some of that too. And it was almost like she didn't prepare for it. Like she hadn't, because you don't know what this is going to be like until it happens.
Yeah. How can you prepare for that? Like
it's something you've never gone through.
Innocent from, day one, from January 29th, 2022. She knew she didn't do this, but then it's a process of trying to build your defense, build your battalions, to be able to prove that, because we didn't make no mistake, Aiden. It's not that the Commonwealth didn't prove that she's guilty. We proved that she was innocent. We proved it. Think about the character and quality of the Commonwealth's experts, people that lied about their credentials, lied about their CVs, people who don't actually have degrees, people who do extensive testing and cost the taxpayers $400,000 or $500,000 just to put some paint on your arm, versus ARCA and the exquisite testing that they did, versus Matt DeSogra and the exquisite data analysis that he did. Think about who proved what. I will go to my grave saying it's not that they didn't prove their case. We proved her.
You can say it.
No, I
demonetized. Okay.
She proved her innocence. And that takes a titanium spine. That takes a gumption that rarely people have. People are usually very, very quick to say, look, I'll just take my win and go home. She was never convinced that was the right thing to do. I'm going to prove my goddamn innocence day one. And it's never going to shift. It's never going to change. So coming down from that high, from that adrenaline, from that stress, because she knew she could lose, I think she just needed to surround herself with her inner circle, who's 5 or 6 or 7 people. I'm not even in that inner circle, but I know who the inner circle is, and I talk to her every day, and I understand what she's going through. I think she just needed to just a little quiet time, if that makes sense. She
totally makes sense.
And she was never avoiding you, brother. She was never avoiding you.
Yeah, she returns my texts. We talk. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? I have no, and I totally get it. I would never expect her to.
Yeah.
I don't like people like that who think that Karen Reed owes me nothing. I want to be perfectly clear. But and I said that.
By the way, you've said that. And by the way, God bless you for that. God bless you for that. Because there was a lot of people out there who were suggesting that you had some ulterior motive, and you shut that down in a heartbeat. You're very eloquent. You're very heartfelt.
40,000 people watching this on.
I saw it.
I love journal. I live for stories like
Wow.
this. This was the story of my life. I didn't do it because I was going to make a lot of money. I did it because it's an amazing story and one that needed to be told. And I'm so happy that I did it.
Your motivation will go down in history. It will.
You know, I appreciate that. And just from the beginning to the end of this and seeing how it's grown. So the first time I ever kind of communicate with you was on April 17th when I was introduced to a woman by the name of Natalie, and she was like kind of messaging. I didn't realize she was passing messages directly from Karen, and she was like, one of them was like from you, and it was like, AJ says that I can't wait to meet the reporter with the biggest balls in the country or some shit like that. And I'm like, I'm just writing a story here, you know? and when I wrote that story, when I wrote
both the size of church bells,
I think that's what it was. Yes, that was the thing. And I thought, like, when I wrote it, I'm like, well, that's the end. I mean, like, they're obviously going to drop this because I'm silly me. I think that we can trust institutions. And then instead they put their foot on the accelerator. And after that, suddenly microscopic pieces of tail light appeared in clothing, and GPS data suddenly came around, and they just, all of this new tech stream data all of a sudden appeared. And it was like, how, like, that must have felt crazy that no matter what you guys put out there, they just came, they didn't consider it in an ethical sense. Like, does this mean she's innocent? They're like, well, how can we come up with a lie to explain this one?
Right. That was the sort of the Brennan effect. Look, he had a job to do, but that's shame on that. Shame on that. When you've got lives in your hands, you can't look at this. You can't hide behind the idea. Oh, I'm just doing my job. I just got hired to do my job.
Nope.
No, you didn't.
No.
You get hired
He's
to dig a ditch or to trim a tree or to unclog a pipe. And by the way, God bless those folks that do that. I used to do that. I was in the military, and I mopped floors. I mopped the best goddamn floors on the planet.
You're a decorated dude.
Ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I served in the military, but I never looked for accolades. There are others who have given their lives and given life and limb far broader than I have. All I'm saying is, you can't just hide behind the idea if you're a Hank Brennan or even an Adam Lally or a Laura McLaughlin, by the way.
What do you think? Why are you saying that?
Why are you saying that? Finish my point, and I'll get to that. And say, well, I'm just doing a job. No, you're not doing a job. You're affecting a life. You're affecting many lives. You're affecting many lives. Look behind you in the view that you've got behind you right now. Those are the lives that you're affecting. Knock it off. Stop being a little wimp and acting like this is just a job and no big deal. I'm just going to go on to my next job. If that's the case, God help us in the judicial system. God help us. You have a broader responsibility, not just to do a job. Do the right goddamn thing. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. I did when I was a prosecutor. Every single time I did the right thing. People have asked me as a prosecutor, "Oh, do you ever lament the idea that you might have convicted an innocent person?" No, I didn't, because I did the right thing. I knew what the evidence was. I knew exactly what I was doing before I ever walked into a courtroom. I never ever had to lose a wink of sleep with the idea that I got it wrong. How could these folks, the Laura McLaughlins and the Adam Lalleys and the Hank Brennans, ever sleep at night thinking they got this right?
So let me ask you that then. Do you think that Hank Brennan, Adam Lally, and Laura McLaughlin truly believe Karen Reed did this?
You'd have to ask them, and of course.
But what do you
guess what?
think? What do you
They'll
think?
never tell. I have no idea. If, in my mind, if they're real legal analysts, not a single one of them think that she did this. Not a single one of them. If they're real legal analysts, they're looking at the same evidence I'm looking at. As a matter of fact, I suspect they're probably looking at more evidence than I saw.
That's right.
Which is unconstitutional, but
yes, it sounds like it.
Yeah, I have no reason to believe that they didn't have additional evidence that I never got, that I never saw, that I was never able to analyze. But, you're dealing with Buchanan, and you're dealing with Tully, and you're dealing with Proctor, and these folks who are bent. They're just bent. Every one of them are bent.
Mm-hmm.
So could they go to sleep at night thinking to themselves after analyzing the same evidence that I analyzed and say, I think she hit him. Really?
Like,
really?
Do you think they would have slept well if Karen was convicted?
Oh, all of them. All of them.
You
like
think
a baby.
so?
But like a baby. Like a baby.
You don't think it would weigh on
convince
any of them?
themselves-
Like, really?
No, because they did what they were supposed to do, and they would have been rock stars. They would have been on every single platform, news channel, all the ones that Jackson's talking about not going on. They would have been on all of those, and they would have been. But I don't think any of them believe that she really did it, and so I don't know how they would feel, like deep down in their soul. But that just goes to show you, hey, Brennan has no conscience about it. If you're going to represent and lie for a mass murderer like Whitey Bulger, then lying about Karen Reed is nothing. It's nothing.
No, it's a mental disability. Like they will think of themselves as, I'm just doing the job of the prosecutor. I put on the best case that I possibly could, and the jury convicted, and I'm going to sleep like a baby because it wasn't my decision. No, it is your decision. You need to own it, folks. And I don't think a single person in that courtroom was willing to do that. I don't think a single person in that courtroom has been taught the efficacy of owning your own decisions.
Really? Very interesting. So I wrote down some questions here that I have for you. And the first one that, first of all, big supporter. Okay. But like, I am going to bring one up here that like, I don't understand this one. Okay. When you cross-examined Lieutenant O'Hara, okay, and he said that the CERT team got there at whatever, 5:21, and they start digging, and then they don't find anything. And then 3 unknown dudes show up. Canton police, he thinks, whatever. Right. And then taillight appears. How come it was never asked who found the taillight and why aren't they on the stand? To this day, we don't know which person in the CERT team found the taillight, correct? We don't know the name of them.
That's right. So that was, like I said, there's very little that's not by design. In that specific situation, he was willing to say, O'Hara, and I've got no beef with him. I honestly, I have no.
Yeah,
beef.
I thought he was okay. I don't think he was corrupt.
He's a fine officer. No, he's a fine officer.
Yeah.
I call it like I see it. My sense was he probably didn't know because there's 8 guys walking a grid, and someone barks out, "Hey, come over here," or "Bring a flashlight," or such and such, whatever. I don't think he probably knew. And I wasn't willing to go down that rabbit hole and try to figure out who knew because I didn't care. At that point, I didn't care. All I cared about was timing. I cared about the timing at which the first taillight piece was found, which was well after Proctor had that car in his custody and had access to 34 Fairview. And number 2, I cared about who actually recovered the pieces and who photographed them. And those were Tully. That's all I wanted the jurors to think about. I did not want to. Every word I say and every question I ask, jurors hang on, right? I'm a defense attorney. So they're like, oh, well, there must be a reason why you're asking that. Let's say I called into question one of the other CERT team officers, and I had all their names on the top of my head at the time. I could have just barked off, was it this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy? Then the jurors are going to start thinking, well, wait, was he part of some weird thing that was in conjunction with Proctor and Tully and the others? And I didn't want to do that. So I thought it was a cleaner way to cross-examine simply by saying, what was the time frame? It was after Proctor had the taillight in his possession, and you didn't pick it up. You never touched it. You never physically moved it. It was
O'Hara.
all told. O'Hara never.
Yeah, O'Hara, okay, yeah.
All he
right,
said was, "I see it over there, Detective Tully. You go take care of it. I'm going to continue searching." And that's all I cared about. And I thought that was.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt the video, but remember, hit that like button down below. It really helps the channel to grow bigger and better and more diverse. Not that weird, creepy kind of government diverse. I'll Samsplain it for you if you want. You want to hear some Samsplaining? Just like the video down below.
In my view, that was the most effective way to deal with the CERT team, which was relatively unassailable.
They were, yeah. I mean, that was the problem, is they sounded legit until those 3 unknown dudes showed up. And
right, and I get to say whoever those unknown dudes are that I want to. O'Hara was he pushed a little further by saying in trial, which you heard. Well, I recognize that none of them were Proctor, right? Yeah,
he said they were Canton police. The way you said it. Do you think one of them was Proctor?
One was Canton Police and 2 were Massachusetts State Police, but he wasn't sure who they were, but they weren't Proctor.
Okay. Do you think Proctor was there?
Yep.
You do?
I do.
Oh.
That's just my opinion.
Okay.
I mean, the evidence is the evidence, but I think Proctor was there.
All right. And
at some point, so I don't think that he missed the opportunity to go to 34 Fairview.
So let's talk about the ghost of the Canton Police Sallyport. The guy that there's a 20-second gap there at 536 to 537. Some guy, footage disappears, and all of a sudden, some guy comes from where Proctor's standing and walks out. I think that was Ken Berkowitz. Who do you think that was?
If I had to guess, I think it was Ken Berkowitz.
Okay.
He was short in stature. Ken Berkowitz was short in stature. He just appeared out of nowhere. I have other information. We had other information which we propounded at trial that Ken Berkowitz was in and around the Sallyport that night. Later that night, he had access to it. He's the chief of police. Even though he might have been IOD at the time, he still could come and go as he pleases. And in a situation like this, where there's a police officer found dead on another police officer's lawn, especially Brian Albert's lawn, whom he knew well, there's almost no chance that Ken Berkowitz was not in some way, shape, form, or fashion
that's right.
involved in the
and he was Higgins,
going
one of Higgins'
on
best friends
in the subsequent 8, 10, 12 hours.
I mean, he would have to be. I mean, that's Higgins' best buddy. And my question is, I understand he was obviously not alive for the second trial. Did you guys try to call him during the first trial? And I understood he was very sick during the first trial. Did you want to call him, and were you allowed to if you were?
If we wanted to, we probably could have. It was not high on my priority list. I didn't really want to hear from Chief Berkowitz. I know. Look, he's a seasoned officer. He was also Brian Higgins' best friend. I tend to evaluate the folks that we call in terms of the pros and cons. I didn't feel like the pros outweighed the cons of calling him in the first trial, even if he was available. So we didn't even really try.
Okay. All right. So I have some other questions here. This next one is so I talked to Karen right during, like, when the prosecution was wrapping up its case, and I'm like, it appears if Proctor wasn't going to be called and McAlberts weren't going to be called. And she asked me, do you think that we should call him? And I'm like, you're asking me? I'm not a lawyer. I'm like, yeah, I think, yeah, totally. Yeah. How can you not call them? Like, that would be horrible if you don't call them. Ultimately, you didn't call him. And tell me, was there any dissent on the legal defense team about that? Was there a rigorous debate about whether or not Proctor and the McAlberts would be called?
Not really. Not really. I mean, there was a debate, not a debate. There was a discussion. That's a better word for it. Not a debate. It was a discussion. Ultimately, the buck stops with me. It was my decision not to call Michael Proctor. He was my witness as lead counsel for the Commonwealth versus Karen Reed. Someone's got to make the ultimate decision. There was no real dissension. Once we talked it out, it was my determination that it was not in our best interest to call Michael Proctor, not because it wouldn't be fun, not because I wasn't ready for it, not because it wouldn't be a lot of fireworks. And that's why, look, that's why most of the media was, and the internet went nuts and, oh my God, you got to call Michael Proctor, because it's entertainment. For Christ's sake.
Yeah.
You saw the first trial?
Strictly.
It is entertainment, but Bettero, a man I know you respect a lot, was pretty
Deeply.
vocal that he would call it, Higgins especially. He was like,
Yeah.
he just thought there was a lot left on the table. And you, by not calling him, and I said this on my show, I go, this is the ballsiest decision ever, because
Yeah.
if this woman is convicted of anything,
I gotta
besides the
own it.
DUI, then you not only you got to own it, that's going to go down as the worst call ever. Like your Grady Little level, like keeping Pedro in the game, like that. That's what that would go down as. Didn't that make you freaking nervous?
No, they knew they won.
I say this a lot, and it sounds really self-aggrandizing. I don't get nervous. I make people nervous.
That's
I
right.
I make decisions because they're the right decisions, and it comes from 30 plus years of decision making. And at some point, you got to have the balls to make the call. You got to make the call.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that in my heart of hearts, I knew that having an empty chair, having the ogre under the bridge, having and that's both Proctor and Higgins. I could make hay out of the fact that the Commonwealth didn't call two very, very obvious witnesses. How do you not call as the prosecution? How does Hank Brennan sit there with his suit on and his tie knotted and his glasses on, sitting there with his hair combed and his socks and his shoes and all his accoutrements, and stand up in front of the jury in closing argument and express to them a reasonable judgment why he didn't I did. I didn't need to do it again this time, as the evidence indicates, right?
Sorry, guys.
We got her acquitted, right? So
You did.
I knew that I didn't need to. From an ego standpoint, I would have loved to cross-examine Michael Proctor again. He stood no chance. As bad as it went for him the last time, it would have gone 10 times worse this time. But I didn't need it. It's not about me. It's not about me having, national press cross-examining some lead investigator who's falling apart under the crucible of cross-examination, having to answer for questions, having to answer for text messages that he sent that are disastrous for him. That's not what it's about. It's about trial strategy, and that's what I employed. And Karen agreed. And at the end of the day, it was, like you said, the buck stopped with me, but everybody on the team agreed. Nope, we're not calling Proctor, and we're not calling Higgins.
Let's talk about strategy for a moment. So I went through some old messages with your telling her is you guys have to call Barros. You guys left it on the table in the first trial, not asking him that question that you asked him this time around.
Stop it. We didn't leave it on the table.
Well, I know.
We didn't know the information. They hid the freaking information from us.
Well, no, but you didn't know what he was going to say. I'm talking about
exactly.
Right. So they did hide that information. Right. Correct.
Yeah.
So my question for you is, because I'm reading these messages, and she's telling me here that we got what we wanted. You have to walk away. Never ask one question too many is Alan's MO. It's
Correct.
Too much of a risk, blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting here and I'm telling her, I'm telling you, that guy wants to talk. I could tell just by the way he said it.
Yeah,
that guy wants to talk.
Got a good instinct, dude.
So how did the Barros connection develop? Is my question. Did you guys reach out to him? Did he reach out to you? Okay.
No, we reached out to him. We through a subpoena. And then the normal process is a defense attorney.
Sorry, it's getting a little late.
I mean, same in California. I send a subpoena out. The law, if it's to law enforcement, their subpoena control office sends the subpoena to the officer. Usually the officer will call us back. I think he did. I think Nick called us back and said, hey, look, when do you need me? When are you thinking the trial's going to go forward? It's just logistical conversations. And I said to him, as I would with any witness in that position, I would like to meet you face to face. I just want to, and the reason for that, Aiden, is because I wanted to kick the tires, right? I don't want to put a witness on, especially with the import of information that Nick Barrows had, without at least hearing a little bit of his countenance. How does he carry himself? What are his, and by the way, it wasn't.
And what's he going to say about the taillight?
It wasn't going to be a deep conversation about the taillight. I wasn't going to ask him deeply about the taillight. And no problem. So we met at the hotel. We talked about logistics. We talked about when he's available, how long his testimony is expected to be, etc. And I had there. I mean, some of this I'm gonna leave for other forums,
of course.
So there was a. Anything the Commonwealth could do, I could do. But I made a decision at that time, and we'll talk a little bit more in different forums about this, why I handled that interview the way that I did. And by the end of the interview, I was, and it wasn't an interview other than just the logistics. Really.
Sorry, guys, I had to
when
fix
can you be there? How do I get a hold of you? Do you have a cell phone?
Internet
do I need to go through subpoena
I
control?
apologize.
Here's when we're thinking about calling you. I don't know if the Commonwealth's going to call you or not. Did they subpoena you? I asked them that, etc. Nope, they didn't. They weren't interested in him.
They didn't even put him on the list.
They didn't even
Not
put
even-
him on the list.
Didn't
And
even
that
put him on the
tells
list.
you everything you need to know about whether Hank Brennan and the prosecution was after the truth.
They put me on
That
the list
tells
and
you-
not Barrows.
Correct.
Which tells you a lot. Which tells you a lot.
They put you on the list. If I had to guess, they put you on the list to get you out of the courtroom. That's why
he was never going to call me.
it was
He was
horseshit.
never-
Are you
yeah.
kidding?
I
You're gonna
don't-
call Aiden Kearney in the
I don't go to bed till like 2 a.m, so it's definitely not my bedtime, Johnny.
case of Commonwealth versus Karen Reed. Not a chance.
So I actually was the one that informed you last June during the first trial that you had no idea that Karen Reed was almost indicted.
I love you, Danette.
Or not, we don't know how close she was, but there was a grand jury that took place.
Yep.
Into
Behind my back.
conspiracy to commit witness intimidation.
Behind
You
my
found
back.
that out when I told you that, right? You didn't no idea that was going on.
Zero.
How do you feel about that?
I felt backstabbed. I felt jumped. I felt like it was just another opportunity for the Commonwealth to put their foot on Karen's throat. They were never, ever, ever going to be satisfied until she was behind bars, in handcuffs. By the way, I think that this was a ploy. If I had to guess strategically as a prosecutor, I think that this was a ploy to get her bail revoked. I
That's
think
exactly what it was.
they wanted to try this case with her in Orange County jump, an Orange County
Yep.
jump. Period. Full stop.
She's a lot less effective behind bars with no internet.
Oh my God. We could not have. I've said this before in other interviews before the trial that I've never ever, and I don't know that I ever will, find a smarter client than Karen. She is just brilliant. You've had a lot of interaction with her.
She's very
You've talked
smart.
to her several times. She's very smart. She's got an encyclopedic memory. She can pull things out of her head that I mean, if I asked her if I called her on the phone right now, no, I'm not going to. Tell me about this report. She could say, without looking up anything, she could say that was in the such and such report on page 273. I remember it was sort of the top half of the page, and the person said X. Literally that level of knowledge about the entire case, tens of thousands of pages worth of data. If I didn't have access to her, if Liza didn't have access to her, and Bob and David didn't have access to her, we would not have been an effective defense team.
Calling
Period.
her on the
And
Securus
they knew
app
that.
every day wouldn't have been
They
fun.
knew that.
Yeah.
Brendan watched the first trial. He's not stupid.
No,
he may be a lot of things, and I've got a lot of adjectives for him, but he ain't stupid. And saw how effective she was. He wanted her behind bars, period. And they used Cosgrove or whatever that
Mello.
Yeah, Mello, whatever. They used him as a tool.
So that was actually one of my other questions I have written down here. So in January of 2024, when I was locked up, I saw in the news that your client's home was raided by the state police, and that they had been monitoring her trips to Florida, and that they had a warrant for her phone, and it was all related to potential conspiracy with me. And when it first happened, I'm like, oh man, Ken Mello really opened up a can he doesn't want to hear, and they're gonna like destroy him. But you guys really didn't go after Ken Mello. You really didn't talk much about that. Why was that?
Wasn't relevant. If it didn't go anywhere, if it didn't go to an indictment, then I didn't care. That's just bullshit. It's just fodder. It's cannon fodder that we didn't care about. I didn't want to get distracted with that issue if it wasn't going to lead to an indictment, and we learned that it wasn't, that it was a failed attempt. So why bring Ken Mello or Cosgrove or anybody else that's going after you into her orbit? It just wasn't necessary.
Okay. Next question. Do you regret not advising Karen Reed to avoid media interviews? Because I mean, they were used against her a lot, and I know it wasn't really effective, but it must have been a pain in the ass and a distraction, was it not?
I don't regret one bit. Frank, I do not regret necessary, but as long as
you didn't expand on the context. Like for instance, the one where she says that, hey Jen, it's either me or you. It's my understanding that the larger context of that was that Karen was asked, who do you dislike more, Michael Proctor or Jennifer McCabe? And she said that I actually kind of understand. She goes, it's Michael Proctor, because I kind of understood where Jen was coming from, because it's either me or you, Jen. But Michael Proctor did this he didn't have to do this, right? And
right.
How come you didn't play that whole clip? Were you allowed to?
We would have been allowed to. We didn't need the entire clip. I didn't think that the Jen McCabe me or you issue was that grave. There was extra context that was, I can't remember exactly how we got it in, if it was through a transcript or through a tape. But we were able to lay context to that. It didn't matter. I didn't think it mattered. Every time she talked, every time Karen spoke, it added flesh to the bone. People got to hear her. I think the jurors, I didn't care about the other people, but the jurors got to hear her vocal cadence, her tone and her tenor, her effusiveness about certain things, when she was upset about certain things, when she was sad about certain things, when she teared up about.
Yeah, sorry guys. I know the audio, it gets a little stuttery and things start going in and out. I have no idea why. I don't know if it's the cache on my computer. I reloaded the browser for it to reset, and it kind of did. I went to Wi-Fi instead of being plugged in. You think it would be the other way around. So yeah, I'm sorry about that, guys. And yeah, it kind of sucks. And Danette, I love you because the way you just interact with the chat and all the things. I really appreciate you. That's all. Okay, let's get to it.
Certain things. That was my way of putting her on the witness stand without ever having to put her on the witness stand. And the Commonwealth fell immediately into that trap. That's exactly what I expected that they would do. They would pick and choose certain things, and they would think to themselves, "Oh, well, I've got this and I've got that." And I'm sitting here thinking, "You're making a huge mistake.
That's right.
You're making a big mistake."
Wow.
And ultimately, it did.
So let me ask you this: who do you think did a better job? And they both are losers, Adam Lally or Hank Brennan, because I think Adam Lally did a better job.
I do too.
He got 9.
I do too.
Hank got 0.
Yeah, I do too. I think that Adam. I'm not going to speak about personalities, but just in terms of legal prowess, I think Adam probably tried a better case. Hank thought he was. I think Hank thought he was being too cute by half, by being the data guy when the data actually benefits us. I don't think that the Commonwealth knew the data nearly as well as we knew the data. We just knew it. We knew it from the first trial, and we knew it into the second trial, and we knew it better in the second trial than we did in the first trial. So I think ultimately, I mean, look, the proof is in the pudding, right?
Yeah.
The jurors in the second trial weren't hanging on hardly anything.
Yeah. Well, what Hank hung his hat on, and what I'll just play devil's advocate. It's really hard because it's really stupid. But their biggest thing was that the text stream data shows that Karen reversed at 12:31. Do you agree with that data? And were you worried about that at all?
I wasn't. As a matter of fact, I embraced it. You'll remember in my opening statement and in my closing argument, I bookended both of them. We talked about 12/31/38. They bought it. That's what the Commonwealth just bought and owned that time frame. That came from Welcher. He was absolutely unequivocal about it. The impact occurred, and it's a completely incapacitating impact at 12/31/38. Right. So,
but how do you explain reversing at all around that time?
So I didn't care about that. I think the reversing could have happened on the way home. It could have happened at the 3-point turn. There's enough play in that data that there's no way that the Commonwealth could prove beyond any reasonable doubt that the reversing actually occurred in front of 34 Fairview. There was a reversing event at some point, but it could have happened on her way home when she, takes a left and there's some snowplow coming and she decides to reverse, go around a different corner, or go around the snowplow or whatever. Right. Could have been 1,000 things. Could have happened at the 3-point turn, which, by the way, is where the Commonwealth originally said it did happen. Then they changed the data. So I didn't really care.
You know why they changed it, by the way. Canton Cover Up Part 73. One of these pink people outside did a video showing that a 3-point turn would have broken the left tail light, not the right. And they just immediately abandoned ship after that. They're like, okay, we're going to adjust this. A question a lot of people have, and mine is the X-rays.
Oh, right? by the way, let me answer. Let me finish answering that first
go ahead.
question. The reason the 12/31/38 didn't bother me is because John was alive and well after 12/31/38. Period. Amen. I mean, full stop. It's just that's just the data on the phone. The data
because he moves in the phone access.
No, not Aiden. It's not just because he moves. It's because he picks his cell phone up, he opens it, reads a text, closes it, walks around, and then the phone moves. I mean, there's multiple data points that show that he was alive after the time they said he was reversed into and incapacitated.
But you don't actually believe he was alive. Like you believe he was incapacitated. That means someone else was using the phone, correct?
Someone else was picking up his phone and manipulating his phone.
And didn't they say that? Let me get this straight. Did they say that they did the face recognition to open the phone? Which would mean that John was knocked out and they put it up to his unconscious face to open the phone?
Unclear. It's unclear. The phone was definitely opened. It's unclear whether or not it was opened by a biometric or it just happened to be open. But we do know that he checked a text. He checked a text. I think I said that right.
Yeah.
And he read a text that he
Jim
closed.
McCabe text. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Jim McCabe text. So there's no question that we know that he was manipulating his phone. He was advancing some interaction with his phone after 12/31/38. So it was done.
Yeah,
it was done.
can you talk about the garage at all? You guys went heavy on the garage in trial 2. You didn't mention the garage at all in trial 1. Is that because of the cell phone battery information that would align more with the garage? You went basement heavy in the first trial, garage heavy in the second one.
We knew that the cell phone data was consistent with the garage. It was also consistent with the basement. I mean, as long as it's a cool place, cooler than outside, but not freezing. We knew that data was
because of the temperature of the phone, and I thought that too. The phone never got colder, I think, than 58 degrees, I think it is. And that means he was held in like a garage or a basement or somewhere that wasn't quite as cold outside. It's also obvious. It's painful. So painful.
Consistent with either one, but there were data points inside that garage that suggested that we found out after consulting with certain of our experts that suggested that there may have been something that happened inside the garage. So
yeah, let's talk brass tacks. Let's just get down to it. What do you think happened to John O'Keefe? Tell me your theory.
I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leave that to a different time and place.
Okay.
Do I have a theory? Sure, I have a theory. But I think the important thing for your audience is that's the beauty of this, is that every single bit of this data played out in open court. I mean, some of it was attempted to be hidden by the prosecution. Some of it was attempted to be hidden by the judge, which is shameful. But the real data got played out in open court. People can make their own decisions. You have I guarantee you have a thought about what happened. What do you think happened?
I mean, what I think happened is, I think that, see, the garage is hard because the garage is not connected to the house. You would have to go, if he went in the house at all, that means you would have to go back outside and into the garage if it happened in there. And are they just sitting in there waiting in the garage? I think a fight happened inside the house and they moved his body to the garage. I think that's what happened, is because
I think the fight happened right at the door.
You got a guy bleeding in there. You got to put him you got to get him out of the house. You can't have, that's what I think happened.
I'll tell you what absolutely unequivocally happened. He didn't get hit by a car.
He did not get hit by a car. And that's the only thing. And you did go heavy in the first trial. You kind of seemed like you wanted to solve the mystery of who killed John O'Keefe. Do you think, looking back at that, obviously you didn't do that in the second trial. Do you think that was a harder pill for the jury to swallow in the first trial? Because it was like they had to believe your theory or the Commonwealth's. And they were like,
right. So there's,
bye, Mama. It's good to see you. I will see you soon. Hopefully. Have a good night. We all love you to death, and we're so glad you were here. She's so sweet.
Things that you have to do I think as a trial lawyer, as a professional in any particular, is learn, and as you move forward, learn from your prior conduct, learn from your prior experiences. One of the things that we were very, very focused on in the second trial was establishing that we did not have a burden. We did not have any burden to prove what happened. Mm-hmm. The case rises and falls on whether or not the Commonwealth can prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. And so I shifted in my opening and my closing to reasonable doubt, because that was something that I felt like we could do better. It wasn't necessarily a criticism of the first trial. It's just something that we could do better. Make sure that the jurors aren't shifting the burden to us to solve the crime, to prove what actually happened.
And that's exactly what they did. Remember, every single witness was a little bit of reasonable doubt. And if they just took one witness, one piece of evidence, and the reasonable doubt for that one piece, then there's reasonable doubt for the whole thing. And if there's reasonable doubt that there was no hit, that there was no contact, then it all gets thrown out. But she was found guilty of drinking and driving because of her self-admission.
Let's keep the burden where it belongs, which is reasonable doubt. And that's why we built the closing argument the way that we did, which is stacking the reasonable doubt cards sort of proverbially on a table over and over and over, just overwhelming the jurors with reasonable doubt.
Did you hear? I know you're probably so busy during the trial, so you didn't watch my show as much as you guys used to. And there's also lots of other channels too to get your content from. But I specifically did a whole show on Jose Baez closings, and specifically, he loves to do these big boards of reasonable doubt. And I'm like, Alan Jackson, if you're watching, you got to do the reasonable doubt big board. And then lo and behold, you had a reasonable doubt big board. Did you?
I wish I could say that I saw it. I didn't. I was, as you indicated, I was busy. It makes sense. It makes sense that somebody like Jose, who's a fabulous trial lawyer, would do something like that. Obviously that we came to that honestly on our own. It was a decision that I made. Actually, I was sitting in my hotel room and I was writing out cards, physical note cards, just because it's how I think. I did it in my first closing argument. To coordinate what my thought processes are in big categories. And ultimately I decided that, I wanted there to be a visual of what I was thinking in my head, in my hotel room, as I'm laying these cards down of reasonable doubt. And so I consulted with some very smart folks who could put this thing together. One of whom was Karen Reed, believe it or not.
Okay.
She's very, very good. She's very visual. And I told her what my vision was, and she helped me put together this reasonable doubt.
It was brilliant. They did not show this during the stream.
No, they didn't.
Didn't go to it.
One of the things that a very dear friend of mine and yours did for us.
This is Richie from Microdots made this.
Yeah, Richie Keogh. He put together my closing with the big board, with the PowerPoint infused into it, so that the audience can actually see what the closing argument looked like from the perspective of the jurors. And that's now up and running. It's live on my website.
I was watching during your closing some of those jurors, and they couldn't stop looking at the big board, especially like juror 18, a young woman who was ultimately chosen. Juror 16 kept looking at it, the one that looked like Jen McCabe. And man, let's talk about that jury. There was a lot of young people on that jury.
I love that jury.
Yeah, what'd you love about them?
The fact that they were young, smart, attentive, by and large. Compared to me, everybody's young, right? So young, smart, attentive. They were up on the edge of their seat. They were leaning forward. They were on the balls of their feet. They were taking notes where I thought they should be taking notes. Ironically, juror number one, the first juror, the foreperson, didn't take a lot of notes. But from what I hear, that gentleman walked back into the deliberation room and knew this case inside and out. He could recite every single witness and every piece of evidence in a conversation without ever looking at a note.
Amazing.
What a brilliant gentleman that guy is.
He was an impressive guy. That guy was
impressive guy. And ran the jury beautifully, apparently.
The whole jury was impressive. Like there was 8. First of all, not one of them dropped. Not one of them got sick. Not one of them had a family thing, or any. No, that's amazing in and of itself. They all showed up.
The trial was amazing to watch. To watch Axon Jackson in action is amazing. If you like court and legal stuff and LawTube, that theater was second to none. Absolutely second to none. Just amazing legal theater. And it was the Judge Bev wasn't in control. Jackson was in control. And like he said, they're playing chess and the Commonwealth is playing checkers. And now Canton, the corruption, they're all still playing checkers, maybe even whatever, Chinese checkers. And these guys are playing a masterful game of chess. Like he said in his in the beginning of this, I wanted to say opening statement, but the opening statement of this interview, everything is plotted, planned. They know what's going to happen. The feds are involved for sure. 1000%. It can be no one else. It could be absolutely no one else. And I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for justice for John O'Keefe. And I'm so glad that we as a community are all on the side of the truth on this one. It's amazing. I haven't been this jacked up about a legal case and what's to come in a long time. I can't even remember the last time I was this excited about investigations and legal legal commentary that's to come. It's super exciting.
Not one of them, forgot to set an alarm clock or something. Like anything could happen. So what? 18 responsible people, and not one of them fell asleep because there's some boring testimony, but not one of them fell asleep. They all were taking notes the entire time. One guy filled in 5 notebooks worth of notes, and I'm looking at this jury, and I picked out my favorites beforehand because in case there were shenanigans, I want it on the record here. I ranked the jurors 1 through 18. My number 1 ranked juror was Paula. Okay, as it turns out, who turned out to be fucking awesome. Who was your favorite juror? Was she your favorite?
I will defer that question.
Okay.
My favorite juror was every single juror who was on that jury.
That's right.
I loved all of them. And I, they, like you said, all the alternates could have swapped with any of the sitting jurors. And I think the same result would have happened. And that's all I cared about. I thought all of them were great. We were very, very happy with every single juror that we picked during the jury selection process, which was vitally, vitally important. We just got a good feel as a team. We got a good feel for each one of them. And by the way, I will say, Karen Reed, amazing at distilling the character and quality of people like that. She had a huge hand in picking her own jury.
Who did you try to vet out? What kind of people did you try to vet out?
People who would overthink, PhDs, overthink, PhD analysts, engineers, overthink.
Perfect.
Stop overthinking. Stop trying to try the case that I want to try. Listen to the case. What we wanted was people who were open to listening to the evidence as it was being propounded. Don't try to figure out how would I have tried this differently. That's in my view, that's the death knell of a defense in terms of jurors trying to overthink and outsmart what the defense could or should do. Just listen to the evidence as it's propounded. Be open-minded. Where is the credibility? Who has more credibility than who or whom? And that's what we got, and I'm super happy with them.
Speaking of credibility, I did not know there was X-rays until you guys brought up. I thought you guys were like architects, like Mike Brady, Mr. Brady, coming out with your big rolls of stuff there. I'm like, what the hell is this? And it's a goddamn X-ray.
There you go.
What? How long did you know that? Did you know there was X-rays in the first trial?
We knew there were X-rays. We were waiting for the right moment to reveal the X-rays. So
that was crazy.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. And like I said, in certain circumstances, the Commonwealth was our best friend in terms of what they propounded. So that was a real revelation. You never know what evidence is going to shake out in a trial, and you have to be willing to sort of pivot and figure out kind of what they're doing and what you have. One of the things that we weren't going to get caught flat-footed on was our understanding of the actual evidence. We were never going to be outperformed on the details of the evidence that existed.
No, and it totally was obvious.
Universe of data.
So like when Judd Welcher said there's no X-rays, you must have just been thinking to yourself like, oh, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Do you think that Hank didn't call Judd back because Judd would have snitched on him and said he never showed me, he told me there were no X-rays?
I'm guessing, number one, I'm guessing that's exactly what happened, that Judd Welcher was never shown any X-rays. But number two, if that's why Hank didn't call him back, you'd have to ask Hank that, and Hank ain't talking.
Yeah, he's not taking any questions. He's kind of disappeared.
I'm gonna have to.
Okay, well, all right, Al, I really appreciate your time coming on here. I'm sure you're very busy.
It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun.
A great time.
I will tell you, if I can say one last thing in parting, as you probably know, I've been very circumspect about doing any interviews after the Karen Reed verdict. It's been a whirlwind. I think I want to show her the respect. I think her wishes were such that she didn't want a big press tour of anybody, any of her defense team, going from place to place to place. I wanted to respect that. I have not done it. And I chose to come on your show simply because you have been there, Aiden, from the very beginning. That means something to us. I haven't been able to talk to you very much because we've been in trial 1 and I couldn't really talk to you then. And then in trial 2, I couldn't really talk to you then. But now that I have you and I have a bent ear, I want to tell
Aiden
you what it
loves
means
this.
to us as a
TurtleBoy loves
defense
this.
team. For me as a trial lawyer, to have somebody like you in our corner, you've been there from the very beginning. As soon as you learned about this case, you unleashed holy hell on that community to make sure that the truth was told. That's not lost on us. That's why I'm here tonight.
Well, that means the world to me, you saying that. And
Yeah, it
did it
does.
because it was the right thing to do. And it was a pleasure getting to know you and the rest of the defense team and Karen. And just, there was no conspiracy to commit witnesses. We were just bouncing. Like I was just a guy writing a story, talking to, and you guys were giving me only things that you could legally give me. And, stuff that was already in court records. And it was just a phenomenal story. It was an easy story to write because you guys were so good at your job. So thank you for everything you've done as well.
Keep up the good work, my friend.
All right. I appreciate it, Alan. Have a great one.
Take care.
All right.
Amazing.
Well, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome, brother.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
Man, I thought I was going to get 20 minutes with him. Meanwhile, that was 43,000 people there.
Almost
Holy
2
shit.
hours.
So that was really cool.
43,000
So
people are watching.
suck on that, trolls. Right.
Yeah.
I have been talking to these guys, my relationship with the defense is like over the, I first write about it. Obviously they like, finally somebody's taking up the story. Finally, like they've been trying to get the attention of the media for quite some time and nobody in the media took an interest in it because they're all sucking at their job. Like nobody has the balls to do what I do. And so I took an interest in it, and the trolls like to act like something nefarious has happened between us. No, nothing at all nefarious. Like I have questions. He can answer some questions. A lot of the time he's like, I can't answer that. They were very ethical. They were very professional. My relationship with them, and because I will go to my grave saying that the reason that they arrested me wasn't to like get me. It was to tie me to them. It was to hurt Karen.
That's right.
Okay. That's why they arrested me, because they wanted Karen Reed's team to be like, we need to stay away from him because they're trying to, and they did try to tie us together with conspiracy. They tried to indict her with the grand jury. Luckily, thank God it failed. Right. But, it's crazy. Now, some of the other questions I did have written down for him that I didn't get to, right? And I appreciate, I obviously can't answer all the questions that you guys have in there. What a natural back and forth that was. That was awesome. Like one of the ones I wanted to ask him is why they didn't call Deaver in the first trial. And was this decision heavily debated in trial too? Because they had the same information on her going into the first trial and they elected not to call her.
Yeah.
And
crazy.
the second, and it was a risk because she was so hostile, right? But
that was perfect.
As we've seen from juror feedback, that was a great call.
Yeah,
calling Kelly Deaver. Like they all thought she was fucking horrible and was like the perfect example of this blue wall of silence. Like
That's
it was freaking perfect, right?
All right, guys. Well, man, I think that was amazing. Jackson Speaks. Thanks for coming out, guys. I really appreciate it. It was super fun. I'm not going to monetize this one. So Aiden, if you get emails that, we had a watch party, just know that we won't be making money off of it here at After the Bars. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And then I tagged him in the description. So please, everybody go check out Aiden's channel, TurtleBoy, and show him some support and love. I'm sure everyone already has, because he's been instrumental. I mean, look, he had 40,000 people in his chat. 40,000 people. Just imagine that. I think the most we got was 85. So I'm sure he's not tripping that we're having a watch party. If he does, we will definitely take down the video, but I just wanted to watch it with you guys. Yeah, definitely worth staying up for. UK Cheese Farmer's Side Piece. Thanks for watching it with us. And to everybody, thanks for watching it with me. I think the most important thing that was said was at the very, very beginning when he said, look, everything we're doing is like we're playing chess. This isn't over yet. I can't say certain things because of what's to come. And he's not talking about the movie. although they are working on the movie already. Look, he's a Hollywood lawyer. Trust me, there's movies going to be made, there's books going to be written, and there's people going to jail here in the future. And we're going to be right here. I'm just so excited. I am such a nerd when it comes to this stuff. I am a law nerd, 1,000%, 1,000,000%. But thank you guys for coming out. I really appreciate it. Please hit the like button. Please hit the like button on the way out. It's really helped the channel. My videos are starting to get, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. I had a video yesterday get 20,000 views because you guys are hitting that like button and it's pushing the content out there. And that is the support I need. I won't need super chats. I won't need, any of the other things that take money out of this community's pocket, money that you guys need to live. Also, I'm not the only one out here struggling. I know we're all struggling, in this season. So, yeah, if you can do that, man, I appreciate it so much. It's just been amazing. So anyways, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening. This has been the After the Bars podcast. I am Sam Yarbrough, and I will see you guys tomorrow. And
Real Fabio?
Yeah. Oh yeah, his name.
Yeah.
Oh, I almost had the name. So he's like, yeah, that dude, he didn't testify against somebody on a murder trial.